Hi, this is Brass Check, and we just came across a really important article that explains a lot about what's going on and is a bit disturbing as it has to do with the future of our young people. This appeared on Jon Rappaport's blog. The web address for his blog is jonrappaport.wordpress.com. Many of you already know him. I'll just spell out his name for you. Jon, Jon, no H, Jon, Rappaport, R-A-P-P-O-R-T. jonrappaport.wordpress.com. This is his blog, and his article is entitled "The #1 Mind Control Program at U.S. Colleges." If you are a college student, or have a child at college, or care about people of that generation, read this. The unspoken secret in plain sight. And I'm going to read a little bit of it just to give you the taste of what this is about, and I think you're going to want to go and read it in detail yourself. Hidden in plain sight. You notice how crazy college universities and campuses are getting to be? Everybody suddenly got some kind of a mental disease, and they all need some kind of special care and special treatment. Well, that's not an accident, and it's actually much bigger and more serious than those of us on the outside really realize. So here we go. Here is a staggering statistic from the National Alliance on Mental Illness. You ready, everybody? More than 25% of college students have been diagnosed or treated by a professional for a mental health condition within the past year. Let that sink in. 25%. Colleges, and I'm changing John's words a little bit here, can't help being an editor. Colleges have become clinics, psychiatric centers. Colleges have been taken over. A soft coup has occurred out of you. You want to know where all this victim-oriented, quote, I am triggered, and, quote, I need a safe space comes from? You just found it. It's a short step from being diagnosed with a mental disorder to adopting the role of being super sensitive to, quote, triggers. You could call it a self-fulfilling prophecy. Quote, if I have a mental disorder, then I'm a victim. And then what people say and do around me is going to disturb me, and I'll prove it. End of quote. You probably, and I'm adding some stuff here right now, you've probably seen some of these videos where kids are just, some kids are just off the wall. You can't even begin to figure out where they're coming from. Now we understand. The dangerous and destabilizing effect of psychiatric drugs confirm this attitude. The drugs do, in fact, produce an exaggerated and distorted sensitivity to a person's environment. You want to know where a certain amount of violent, aggressive behavior on campuses comes from? You just found it. The psychiatric drugs, in particular antidepressants and speed-type medications for ADHD. You want to know why so many college students can't focus on their studies, and I would add their lives? You just found one reason: the brain effects of these drugs. The usual variety of student problems are translated into pseudo-scientific categories of, quote, mental disorders, and toxic drugging ensues. A college student says to himself, and anybody that's been young or is alive may have these problems too, I'm having trouble with my courses. I don't understand what my professors want. My reading level isn't good enough. I don't like the professors who have a political bias. I'm confused. I miss my friends back home. I feel like a stranger on campus. I'd like to date, but I don't know where to start. There are groups on campus. Should I join one? Well, maybe I need help. I should go to the counseling center and talk to a psychologist. That's what they're there for. Maybe I have a problem that I don't know about, and so it begins. The student is looking for an explanation of his problems, but this search will morph into, having a socially acceptable excuse for not doing well. Understand the distinction. After a bit of counseling, the student is referred to a psychiatrist who makes a diagnosis of depression, or it could be social anxiety, or any one of the million things these guys cook up, and prescribes a drug. Now the student says, Oh, that's a relief. Now I know why I have a problem. I have a mental disorder. I never knew that. I'm operating at a disadvantage. I'm a victim of a brain abnormality. Okay, that means I really shouldn't be expected to succeed. Situations affect my mood. What people say affects my mood. And pretty soon the whole idea of being triggered and needing a safe space makes sense to the student. He's heading down a slippery slope, but he doesn't grasp what's actually going on. On top of that, the drug he's taking is disrupting his thoughts and his brain activity. But of course, the psychiatrist tells him, no, it's not the drugs, it's the condition, the clinical depression or whatever, which is worsening and making it harder to think clearly. He needs a different drug or more drugs. The student is now firmly in the system. He's a patient. He's expected to have trouble coping, and on it goes. Now that I'm getting to be a slightly older person, I look with a lot more sympathy at people in their late teens, or actually in any age really, but it's not an easy age. You got to figure out everything. 10 years ago you were a kid, and now all of a sudden you're supposed to figure out your career, what your domestic situation is going to be, and 1,000 other things that you have not been prepared for. And whose fault is that? Is it a 19-year-old's fault that nobody ever sat him down and explained the facts of life to him or her? Yeah, they can be annoying. Yeah, they can be arrogant. But, I think if we looked into our past, we'd find a lot of that too. But now, the problems of life are suddenly mental conditions. And they're treated with psychobabble, and most horribly of all, they're treated with psychiatric medications. Now, I remember way back in the 70s seeing a medical magazine. It was for doctors. And the cover said, basically the cover question was, is it ethical to prescribe psychiatric medications to seriously disturbed people? And the question is it a cheat? Is it just nothing more than a medical straitjacket to make the lives of doctors easier? And that was the ethical debate in the 1970s. Now, these same drugs are being given out willy-nilly to kids who may be shy, who may have difficulty socially, who may have difficulty focusing, things that we all have when we're young. It's part and parcel of growing up. It's a terrible thing. It's a terrible thing. So I hope everybody goes to johnrappaport.wordpress.com and reads this article in depth, the #1 mind control program at U.S. colleges. And also write John and tell him that you really are grateful for his clear thinking and for articulating this. I wasn't really aware of it. It's one of those things hidden in plain sight. You see that you get all these weird things coming out of college students' mouths, and you don't know where they're coming from. Now we know.